This is the Dean Forge Baker 5 and it's part of the Dartmoor Baker Huckabee Foxworthy range. They make several different models, but Dean Forge does have a really strange way of naming them. One of their ranges has 3 stoves. The biggest stove is called the Small. So bear with me a moment. This range is generally referred to as the Dartmoor range. There are 3 sizes. So it starts with the Dartmoor 5, which is just a normal stove.
Without the oven? Without the oven.
They then make the Foxworthy, which is the same stove on a log store. Why it's not called the Dartmoor 5 log store, I'm not sure. It's called the Foxworthy. They then, I'm having to read this because there's so many. Then when you have the oven on it, it's called the Baker 5, something totally different again. And then there's a Baker 5 Plus, which is the Baker 5 on a log store, not the Dartmoor 5 Wide. Dartmoor 5 Wide. And the same sort of thing, so they do a log store version, but it's called the Huckabee. And then they have an 8 kilowatt version. And then they have an 8 kilowatt version. Other than that, the stoves are made from steel and they're all made in Britain. It's a proper British company, sort of like stepping back in time when you go and see them. They're called Dean Forge, and it is still a forge. They're still making handles and sort of twisting things and shaping basket-shaped handles that are designed to not get as hot. It's a wonderful place. All of their stoves are massively over-engineered, really thick steel, really heavy. These things are never ever going to break. The whole company is focused on burning wood, but they do make multi-fuel kits and versions and that sort of thing. But I tend to think their best stoves are just as their wood-only stoves. And finally, they come in 8 different colours. Okay, when lighting this appliance, you want to start with lots of fuel. You don't want to, ideally, return to it until it's all properly fired up. If you're having to return to it, it can smoke out into the room. Overall, I give this stove a 7 out of 10 for lighting. Today is a little bit off because, well, the weather must be doing something funny. It was a nightmare to light, but ordinarily the stove lights and gets up to temperature in about quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, and having this lower air vent does generally make it much easier. The stove runs at 82.1% efficiency, and they are eco-design and DEFRA approved as well. It's actually got a really neat DEFRA kit, which is you just bend out this little tab, as you can see here, to remove it, and then you can fully close it down or bend it back to make it DEFRA approved again. So that's nice and simple, crude, it's very Dean Forge, works really well. You can get it to blacken on the glass if you close it down too much, but I found that I could comfortably run it overnight with the glass staying clean. So overall, I'd say this was a 7 out of 10. You do need to wait for this stove to burn down a bit before you reload it. If you reload it when it's like this, what you find is that it will smoke back into the room a little bit. It's not actually behaving very badly right now, but you can often get it wrong, and if you allowed it to burn right down, I've never had an issue at all. To be fair, that's actually behaving itself on this occasion, but
it does sometimes smoke out into the room. It
does, yeah, it is easier. I mean, these high efficiency stoves are all a little bit more like that, because the job of the smoke is so much harder, because they're trying to get all the heat and all the efficiency forward, but that does make the job of the smoke a little bit harder. obviously we've tested loads of stoves. This one just struggled a little bit more than some others with that. It does come with gloves and a tool, but I find their gloves really hard to use. And I'm using that in the wrong hand. Obviously, these ones, for some reason, I don't know why, they're just way easier to use. They look better as well, don't they?
Oh, so much better.
Yeah. The handles on this stove do get really hot, but obviously, I mean, it does come with these gloves, but as I say, you can get gloves, and then it's absolutely fine. You can hold it all day, but if you did that with bare hand, obviously that would be a problem. Also comes with a tool, which won't help you with the main handle, but it does help you to open the air vent, and also this end helps you open the other air vent as well. So, you know, it's got Dean Stoves written on it as well, that works well. The general control of it, as you can see, I've got it fully open right now, and this is with the DEFRA kit installed, but if I go from that to fully closed, it reacts straight away, does exactly what I want it. As I say, that's with the DEFRA kit installed. If you remove the DEFRA kit, you can basically turn it off, which is, you know, control is definitely not an issue. If you want to keep the glass clean, I tend to fully close it and then nudge it back. Obviously, it will be different in every chimney, but that's how it works in mine. Overall, I'm going to give the controls a 5 to 6 out of 10. They do get hot. It is, you know, you'll need the tool to work this lower one. The handles are a little bit, they're a little bit crudely made, but on the plus side, they are so tough. Lots of stoves will need, you know, stuff adjusting or playing around with to keep it feeling right. These are basically never gonna move, never gonna break. They are as tough and simple as you can get, but you know, the simplicity comes across to a certain extent in that it's not beautifully refined, but they are wonderfully tough. We test fuel economy by getting the stove up to operating temperature and then seeing how long we can remain at operating temperature on a single net of kiln dried ash. This stove ran for 11 hours, which was fantastic, and I could run it overnight as well. That'll take a little bit of practice on with this smallest model, but bear in mind obviously they've got the wide version and the 8 kilowatt, where essentially you've got just as much control, but you've got a bigger stove, so it's much easier to get longer burns if you need that. Well, the handles get hot. It's more crudely than beautifully finished, and it can smoke into the room when you're reloading if you don't get it quite right. However, it is also built to last, controllable, economical to run, particularly given how few parts you'll ever need. Every one of its faults has a good answer. Hot handles. They're changing their handle design, so fair play to them. The main handles are gone, and from now onwards they are having this new fluted design. So I've swapped them over, and now the stove's at full temperature, bare hands, and this one is hot, but I can hold my hand there. It's not that hot, but it is, I wouldn't call it like a, you know, safety handle or whatever. The main air control isn't fluted, so that one is still sort of flick it, and to be fair, that works. I'm not going to touch it very often, and I can just sort of flick it where I want it to be, so all good. Smoking out, well, if you wait till it's burned down, then there's no issue. Not beautifully finished, but you've got to remember this is a tool for a job. Do you want to drive over a bridge that has beautiful hidden bolts but they need replacing every year? Or iron bridge, warts and all? If you want a timeless piece of old England, an oven, something where the names don't make any sense, something flawed but will never ever let you down, then buy one, because there's something special about home. Also, if you want to watch one of these stoves being made from the ground up, then on ITV, Series 2, Episode 4, there's Made in Britain. It's a fantastic programme, but they literally go through building the entire stove from start to finish.